Welcome to the first SlapShot Alley podcast. My first guest. They said he was too small to play hockey. Cliff Ronning.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Look at this place. SlapShot Alley, Coach's Corner. What a great place. I wish when I was a young kid, I would have came here and shot pucks for sure.
What is the significance of Alley to you?
Well, it's when we grew up as kids, I mean, we didn't play Nintendos and stuff like that. We were out in the street playing road hockey, and everyone out there that's my age would understand that. Maybe even if you're 10, 15 years younger than me, you played road hockey, street hockey as they'd call it. That's kind of what that feeling is here, but you get to put skates on in here and actually shoot pucks. But it was really getting excited after school, even grade 3. Knowing that every kid's going to be outside with their stick. You're going to throw your stick in a pile, and that's going to be the team. And from kids that were my age, but also kids that were like 5 years older, it was a fun time that, I hope these kids get a chance one day to have that experience. And I guess that's what trying to bring that in here.
Yeah, so that's what we do. We've been doing it for 10 years. And we've been using the video analysis with slow motion so the kids can see their technique up against side-by-side comparison with NHL players. And we just tell them, hey, this is what it takes to have pro technique. Yeah. And you get the best results that way. I think we've worked with maybe thousands of players.
I know I've worked, you've worked, but early on we worked with the Columbus Blue Jackets. We went to Phoenix and worked with the Phoenix Coyotes. Shane Doan had an amazing shot. We actually flew out to work with Malkin, Shea Weber. And when I look back, what's really interesting is back in the archives, Austin Matthews. We were out in Phoenix, and a friend of mine coached him in like bantam hockey, and he wanted to come out, and I worked with him for a bit, and we have coverage and footage of him shooting. And back then, at 14 years old, the kid had an amazing technique, wrist action, bent knees, strong, powerful shot. So I mean, it starts early. You want to get these kids going at 5, 6, 7 years old because it helps them later on.
And, what's better than anything if the kid can start scoring goals that early? I've gone out to Surrey shooting clinics where I'll watch 30 kids on the ice, and none of them don't even have an idea yet on how to roll their wrists in a wrist shot. So this way they come in here, we got time. We can spend an hour with a kid and teach him 3 or 4 things that he can go home and focus on. And, immediately they're getting excited because they're hitting top corners, they're scoring goals, they're having way more fun. And then that's where they take off.
What happens, I think, especially for the parents, if you can give your kid confidence, and confidence comes from doing something correctly and making that shot and finally scoring or sinking a putt. But it's amazing what a kid can do when he has confidence. And how do you get your confidence? I mean, I tell my son, I tell anyone I work with, and that's hard work, but also repetitiveness of constantly practicing. And that's how you get your confidence. It's simple. And, I look over on the wall here, we put down hard work pays off. Dream big, have fun. That's what it's about here for kids. And I think not just kids, but we have adults come in that are in their late 50s, and they want to go play beer league, but they want to be able to surprise their buddies. And all of a sudden they go from the guy that they put in net or put on the back end, and all of a sudden they're trying to put him up front at center, and he's scoring the big goal. So it's not just for a guy that's got the excitement of possibly playing in the NHL, but it's also a guy who just wants to get better.
Most of our clients are kids, and they're like this high. And I always ask kids, what's your dream? Where do you want to go with this? And almost everyone says, I want to make the big leagues. So what
I mean,
better story for them to hear from a guy like you, 5'8", and everybody told you that you were too small to play hockey. Who was telling you that? Like,
well, it just seemed like what's going to happen, though, especially for the smaller players, there'll always be obstacles, meaning there's always going to be an excuse or you can find a way. Obstacles meaning, you might not be getting as much ice time, but if you can create your own ice time by just being so dedicated to your sport that someone's going to see that. Someone's going to see that you're working extra hard. Someone's going to see you're doing what the coach tells you. Someone's going to see that talent, because what happens is eventually as you get, up to 15 years old, you're developing as a player. And then at 15, the body starts developing. You get stronger. So now you work on your strength. You work on being hockey smart, seeing the play, using your teammates. I think that's something that as a hockey player, you want to grow slowly. And I see a lot of kids, they get so advanced so fast, and it's almost like they get to a point that they get discouraged and they lose their confidence. And I think it's something that confidence is key. Keep your confidence by playing at what level you should be playing at, because there's a lot of guys who have played pro hockey. Like, look, a good friend of mine, Glenn Anderson. Here's a guy who scored 700 NHL goals. Okay, he got cut from the junior A team, went to junior B in Bellingham Blazers, found his way, started being the top scorer, then eventually he went to junior A. So he slowly did his steps but he loved the game. He kept pursuing the game because he loved it. The biggest thing is you got to love playing hockey. You got to love the competition. That's the number one thing, no matter what size you are or how big you are. Now, the smaller guy, it depends how you look at it. Does he have the advantage because he's quicker? The bigger guy because he's bigger and he can hit, he can hurt? I always think you got to give yourself the advantage as a person and as a player, meaning if I know I'm playing against a bigger guy, I'm going to try and outsmart him. So I'm going to try to get the puck, move it to someone, and then get it back. And that's not what he wants to do. He wants to take you down the wall and then hit you. So you're trying to always do the opposite of what he wants, and you're in control.
Let's go back in time and let's tell the story of Cliff Ronning. So I want kids to know what it was like for you when you were their age.
Yeah, I mean, I can go right back to, 5 years old, 6 years old. I played my first hockey at Burning Winter Club. In pup hockey, it was called back then.
But let's go back even further. I mean, you must have fell in love with the game before that.
I fell in love with competition. So it wasn't just the game of hockey. It was all to do with competing. It had to do with if I was playing ping pong, playing chess, playing checkers. Back then, what would you be playing? I mean,
but you were playing hockey in your house with your grandma, right?
Yep.
So did you guys make games? What was that like?
I think they probably let me score quite a bit because I'd be all upset if I didn't. I was one of those kids that I was driven.
You're watching CBC Hockey Night in Canada.
We
on
watched
Saturday
Hockey
nights.
Night in Canada.
You got a team. You're cheering for the Canucks. Are they even going yet?
Yeah, the Canucks. I went to my first game. I think I was probably, I would say, about 8 years old. My dad would love the game of hockey. I guess that's really the one that kind of loved the game of hockey. And then I kind of just followed my dad's footsteps, watching games on TV, watching the Canucks, and slowly just loved the game of hockey. But I remember there was a turning point. I'll get to that one sec, but I enjoyed playing lacrosse. I was better
before hockey.
Before hockey, I was better at lacrosse from age 5 to say 10. I was a much better lacrosse player, and I played hockey in the winter, lacrosse in the summer. So when I was slowly developing as a hockey player, I think it's because it was easier to run than skate. And I think my skating kind of wasn't the best. As my dad said, I was kind of like a Zamboni sometimes. I was always on the ice, but I was trying my hardest. And that was the one thing that I was very fortunate. My parents were always positive, never negative. And that helped me, just keep going. But eventually, I played in a tournament, North Shore Winter Club. I believe it was Pee Wee A. And the best team was North Shore Winter Club against our team, Burning Winter Club. And we go into the final game, and I think I scored a couple goals, and we won the whole thing. And I was given, I think, first or MVP of the tournament, which was the first ever in hockey that I was ever given something like that. In lacrosse, things came easy, but hockey, I was always fifth or sixth player on the team. And then eventually, once my skating started coming along, then the lacrosse sense started coming out in the hockey game.
What about that Pee Wee year? What were you doing on a daily basis to get better at hockey?
Well, I would be, our team, Burning Winter Club, I was coached well by Al Patterson. We had a good team. The same team that played lacrosse together, we played hockey together. And that was awesome. And that was, and all the kids were pretty talented. They were all driven. They all wanted to get better. Some were better at lacrosse than hockey, but they all had the try in them. We were very fortunate to be coached by, lacrosse by Jack Crosby, the late Jack Crosby, and then coached by Al Patterson. So we had great coaching on both sides. John Grisdale from the Canucks was our assistant coach. So we were very, very fortunate as young athletes. But when I look back, that was very important because they built the structure of what it takes to win. And then from there, I was fortunate. Midget hockey, I played in the Air Canada Cup. And I think the Air Canada Cup was kind of like my calling out that, hey, maybe this 5'7" guy might have a chance. Because I remember Matt Snaslin from the Montreal Canadiens. He was 5'7", 165, skate like the wind. And I thought, you know what? If that guy could do it, I think maybe I can do it if I just keep working hard. He's not a tough guy or anything. He's just a smart, smooth player, and I loved watching him. We played in the Air Canada Cup in Victoria. We're the first and only team from BC to ever win.
What was the road like to that Air Canada Cup? Were you guys just dominating, or what was that?
No, we battled hard. Kamloops back then, Mark Ferner, they had a really good team. They had a couple guys that went on to play in the NHL also, and they were tough and they were mean. We had to fight our way through it. But
do you remember what the games were like? Were they close?
I think if I remember, we had to get past Kamloops, which we did. It was a best-of-3 series. I believe it went to 3 games. They're fairly tight. Maybe the last game could have been 5-2 or something like that. But the first 2, I think we won the first one, lost the second one, and it was nail-biting time. But us playing lacrosse together as a team, that closeness, the chemistry just overpowered the other team, and that we were very fortunate. And then we had to play, I believe, the team that comes from the Kootenays up that region, and I think we beat them in the first 2 games, so that advanced us to represent British Columbia in the Air Canada Cup. I was very fortunate. I was one of the better players in the team, but our goaltending was fabulous. Dave Roach, who went on to a great career in college. John Hemmerling, he lives up in I believe in Penticton now, and he was an amazing hockey player. The late Pat Austin, another great player. Grant Popovich, Mike Brown. I mean, we really had Sean Nagurney. He's not around anymore, which is really sad. Just a fabulous player that I played with in New West Bruins. So we had a lot of good players, but the biggest thing is we became a team, and we became that one team that became really tight and went on. And the final game was against Patrick Waugh, and their team was ranked number 1, and I think we were ranked number 10, and we ended up beating them 4-2 in the finals. So that was kind of fun.
Let's go back to those days where you're playing hockey in the alley. So what was that like? Were you tell me about those games where you're coming home from school?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget.
Was that a daily thing?
That was a daily thing. 5 days a week. We were, Monday to Friday, we were playing at 3:30 till 6 o'clock. And then sometimes after dinner, we'd still go back out. But that was game time. In Maureen Crescent, it was called, where I grew up. And we had a really good group there in our neighborhood. It was pretty old school. We had a nice cul-de-sac. And
how old are you?
I'm probably like 7, 8 years old, maybe. Okay. We were out in the street ball hockey.
And what's the oldest kid?
We probably had kids 14, maybe 14. We had the Lottie brothers who played lacrosse. They were on the Whistler ski team. We had Milani's were there. We had like a lot of people that were fairly good athletes. Derek Milani, he played for the junior Cablevision, and so it was kind of. And then also my brother was there. I forget about him, but my brother was a great athlete, great on the track, and also he was just all around fast. He played lacrosse. They won championships. So we played and we competed, and it was just so much fun. The street, I remember growing up as a kid, and we used to have a race once around the block, and the champion would be always crowned, like we looked up to, right? And here's me with short little legs trying to keep up to all these other guys that are 5, 7 years older than me. I never did win a race, but I tried. And I think that's really what I would say the message to the young kids out there. If you're smaller, just keep trying, because that try will eventually give you that chance.
Tell us about that big game where you scored the big goal on the street. Yeah. It's Morning Crescent. That was the name of your team?
Yeah, Morning Crescent All-Stars. My brother came up with that. So, yeah, we just had what it was we played a team that a friend of mine, John Hammerling, they were down. They were more, I believe, down off of Sperling or something. And we were from, up by Barnett Highway area. That's where I grew up. And everyone got wind that our team was the best team and the other team was the best team. And somehow at high school, these guys decided, grade 8, whatever, we're playing for the championship. So I was pretty well, I was there, and I wasn't really.
You're not in high school, are you?
No, I'm 10 years old.
Yeah.
So, and these other kids are 14, 15. These guys are almost ready to drive a car. And my brother brings me because he thinks I'm pretty good. And I didn't play almost the whole game. And the game went into overtime. And then my brother, obviously being the coach of the team at the time, he was playing. But they decided to try to use me as a secret weapon. Back then, there's no offside, right? So what they did was they played 4 guys back, and they told me to go stand by the other net, and they're going to slap the ball up to me. And so I guess someone got it and shoot it down to me. I get it. I come down. I deke the goalie, and I score. And here is a 10-year-old winning the game for these guys that are in grade 8. And I'll never forget that, because that was kind of like my coming out in the neighborhood. All of a sudden, I was like the guy that scored the big goal. It's kind of funny, but when you're living in a small world like that, when you're young, that was everything.
Well, it's those experiences that can kind of develop you as a clutch player.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I wanted the ball. It wasn't like I didn't want it. I wanted him to give it to me because I felt I wanted to win, but looking back, some of those guys that we're playing against probably could have pitchforked me about 30 feet, but they just thought, what, leave him there. He's just a little runt, and we don't have to worry about him. And I guess the game plan worked. And we talk about it sometimes when we get together, and it's quite comical that that happened. And then I went on eventually, to play in the NHL. They kind of laugh. They joke about it quite a bit.
You talked about the 72 series being a big influence in your life. What do you remember about that time?
Well, I remember an interview. I remember watching the game and in Vancouver, but it was an interview by Phil Esposito, and that's one of the reasons I always liked number 7 was he was a stand-up guy. Like, I don't know if it was the Winnipeg game or the Vancouver game. He talked after it, and the people were booing Canada, and it was probably here in Vancouver, I bet, but they were just giving the team the gears and booing them because they lost. They were saying they should be embarrassed that they represent Canada. And Phil Esposito pretty well just said, look, this team we're playing, this Russian team, is probably the best team I've ever played against, and we were not prepared. These guys are in better shape than us. He pretty well admitted, we're NHL guys, we thought we were the best, but we didn't realize how hard these guys have trained. These guys are serious. And he pretty well asked the Canadian fans to get behind us, not in front of us. Get behind us, and us as Canadian athletes are playing for Canada. We'll find a way because they have big hearts. And that was when that leadership that he had was something that I remember. They went back to Russia. I had to watch it, the 72 series. If I remember, I watched it. I must have been in grade 3, and everyone started watching it in the gym in grade 3, and it's in my head that it was just amazing that the team won Henderson's goal, but the pride of Canada, that was when, to me, the pride of Canada was really something. That, and obviously Terry Fox was another time that really the pride of Canada. I was proud to be Canadian. And coming back to Phil Esposito, I just like how he stood up. He was a leader. He said it the way it was, and he found a way. And since then, I got to meet him, and I told that to him, and he was a very graceful person. He was a very nice guy to meet, and he looks good for his age. He looks pretty sharp still, I'll tell you that.
Have you heard about this guy Earl from Mission on 650?
No, I haven't heard of Earl yet.
Okay, AM 650 Sports. The Canucks season started this year pretty poorly.
Yeah.
And everybody's criticizing the play. And this guy from Mission named Earl calls him up, and he's like, you guys got to be more positive. And the broadcasters started to agree with him, I guess. They had a little conversation with him, and they're like, yeah, thanks for the call. And since that day, the Canucks have had a winning record. And I was just listening to the radio last week, and they're starting to call back Earl, getting his input. And it was basically behind the fact that, fans got to stay positive.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I don't think fans realize how important they are. Players are still people. They have yes, they're making good money, but there's a lot of pressure on them. They put a lot of pressure on themselves. I guess that comes with the territory, but you know what? They probably don't need extra criticism. And instead of being that guy that criticizes, if you can be that guy that brings a team together, much like what Esposito did, there's a lot more pride in that when you try to rally the troops and give people hope, because when you give people hope, good things can happen. And I think that's something. I remember I did an interview with someone, I believe on 650, and they were mentioning the team got COVID and all this, and what do you think is going to happen? I'm like, well, it's either going to pull them together or it's going to pull them apart. And I said, the one thing I really enjoy about the Canucks is I really think that Bo Horvat is a fabulous leader. If you watch him, he's trying to pull everyone with him. And it's not always easy because, you know, he's not, say, the most talented stick handler. You know, he can sure skate, but he competes, and he competes every night. And that's something that a leader does. So you got Bo Horvat as a leader doing everything he can. You just need, you know, more guys to see what he does and give that extra. And I think they have been. They've been playing hard, but you got to have a little bit of luck if they get Pettersson back. You know, who knows what's going to happen there, because, you know, he's a deciding factor that can make a big difference in a game.
Let's talk Canucks.
Yeah.
Are you a Canuck fan?
I am.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long have you been a Canuck fan?
Maybe too long. You know, since I was probably, like you said, about 7 years old. So, I mean, it's just something that with my dad going to the games, and, you know, I've tried not to be a Canuck fan. You know, I was kind of hoping they'd pick my son in the draft, but they didn't. But you know what? I'm still a Canuck fan. I'm from Vancouver. I'm from BC. I do a lot of stuff with our Canuck alumni. I'm very proud of it. The stuff we've done, we've raised a lot of money, helped a lot of kids. And I just think, you know, I was very fortunate to play for a guy named Pat Quinn that he really taught all of us to give back to the people that gave to you. And I think that's something that I'll try to do right down to my last days is give back to the city, but also, you know, do that deed that, like Pat Quinn said, and things come back to you too. And I've been very fortunate to get different things happen because I did play for the Canucks, and I have given back to the community. And I think it's important for all Canuck players. That's the one thing that all ex-Canuck players take pride in, is we feel we have probably one of the best alumni in all of pro sports.
When did you get drafted?
I got drafted the same year Mary Lemieux, Steve Yzerman. It was probably the one of the best drafts in history. If you look at the guys who got drafted, we're talking like there was about their top 20 picks went on to like amazing careers, Hall of Famers. I mean, Pierre Turgeon. Like there was just a lot. I can't even think of how many guys went on. You know, and I got drafted 7th round.
That's a little late.
That was, you know, really late. But
what was it like going through that?
Maybe I wasn't. I just was happy I got drafted. I was happy that someone actually believed that, okay, maybe he, you know, give him a chance. That was it. Just give me a chance. And that was kind of how I felt. And I felt that skill-wise, I could do it. And it took me a while mentally to break through that. And it's something that I think all kids and parents should actually read the book called Hockey Tough by Dr. Saul Miller. He kind of came. I used him in the playoffs when I was where was that? That was in like 91 or 92. I was really struggling in the playoffs against Calgary. I had a hard time, mental block playing against a couple of the players on the other team, and Dave King wasn't the coach on Calgary. You know, I started off really hot in the playoffs with them and scored a couple goals, but then just got absolutely lit up by Joe Nieuwendyk. That's what it was, Joe Nieuwendyk. I think he scored 4 goals. I just had I don't know how you call it, but he just totally outplayed me. And it came to the point that I talked to Dr. Saul Miller, who helped me, you know, for the next, by reading this book, you know, I was played for another 9 years. So I was about 30, 31. Read the book, understood the book, how to turn positive or negative into positive, how to get rid of all the mental side of the game of thinking, oh, things are going to go wrong, being in the moment. And then I find out afterwards there was like about 100 other NHL guys that has used Dr. Saul Miller. And the whole time I had no idea. And I think that he was a big part of me playing for another 9 years to 40 because there's a bit of a burnout. At that time, I played for about 11 years in NHL, a lot of pressure. Things are going well in Vancouver, but then I was putting more pressure on myself. But what happened was this book is phenomenal to teach the mental side of the game, to how to keep your positive outlook on things, but also keep your intensity and you play at your highest level when you're feeling relaxed, when you're feeling confident. And it comes back to the confident again we were talking about. It's the number one word in pro sports. If you play with confidence and you look confident, players give you time and space. I want to say Wayne Gretzky looked confident all the time, but maybe inside he wasn't at times, but he looked confident. You didn't want to go and attack him to try to get the puck from him. But the confidence with the puck holds back players. You know, early on in the season when Pettersson was struggling a bit because he didn't look confident. And then he started getting his confidence back, and all of a sudden people are kind of nervous to get too close to him because he might burn him on a one-on-one. So remember, how do you build confidence, kids out there? Simple. Practice, right?
Build strength.
Build strength.
Build
but
speed.
Also, mental toughness is huge. And I think mental toughness is the only way I survived. So going back to your question way back was for the young kids, especially if they're smaller and been told that, oh, they're too small, hey, you're too slow, or you're this, or whatever the excuse is, the biggest thing is confidence. You got to play with confidence. How do you get confidence? Practice, have a very strong mind in mental toughness, and you'll be able to get there. I don't care what size you are. I mean, look at the young kid that's he's 30 years old now, I believe, in Nashville. He's 5'4". I watched the show on him. It was fabulous. Played in the minors for 10 years, and now he's playing, and he's playing great. And he's 5'4". So don't let anyone say you're too small, because it'll be up to you to get stronger, faster, but build your confidence by extra hard work.
Okay, so did you watch the game last night?
I watched the game.
So what do you think about the Canucks making the playoffs this year?
I think there's a slim chance. I mean, what I see is the Canucks seem to play better sometimes against teams that aren't as strong. And I would like them to really, pick it up on certain teams when they do play them. But I think there's a chance. There's always a chance if the team comes together. And with Bo Horvat, he's trying to get them rallied up, and there's an opportunity to just take it one game at a time.
Cliff, I'm a huge Canucks fan, and I got you to thank for that. My early days, I was a huge Gretzky fan, and when he got traded to LA, it just wasn't the same. And I moved here from Saskatchewan, and I found the Canucks. And just when I moved here, that's when you got traded. So I got to watch you. Mm-hmm. I got a job with a show called The Winning Spirit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that show. Robbie Robertson running the show.
I know that show.
On CBC. And BCTV was broadcasting it. And I was the assistant editor, so what they would do is they'd hire me to watch all the games, and I was basically just typing describing whatever was happening at certain parts of the game, right? And so I was able to watch the team grow into that championship team. So
Yeah, exactly what you said is grow. It takes time, right? Like it takes smart acquisitions. It also takes pressure from the farm team, having players getting better and better and slowly bringing them and putting pressure on the NHL guys. I mean, Pat made some great moves. He made some great trades. He didn't trade just for all out talent, right? Like, he traded for character. When you really look at his trades, maybe Jeff Brown, he was talented on the back end on a power play. Brett Hedican, yeah, great skater. But the guys he grabbed from St. Louis, they were all character guys, right? Like Jeff Courtnall, he could shoot the puck down that wing. It was a cannon. He was a character guy. Was he fiery? Yeah. Once in a while, throw the elbow? Absolutely. Good speed, was from Victoria. So he had pressure on himself to perform. Then, obviously Sergio Momesso, another character guy. Sometimes when you look at the kids out there now in the NHL, it seems for me, they kind of all look the same sometimes. They kind of look very robotic. It's like, and back in our day, like Harold Snepps and Tiger Williams, and right away you just knew by looking at them, like there was character there. You really can stand behind them. It's kind of something.
Everybody's wearing different equipment.
Yeah, like it's
everybody's got their own unique look.
Yeah, like that. Like, I think the NHL misses that. Like, I really do. Like I watch almost too much hockey, maybe, but after a while, I just feel like I'm watching the same game. And you met back in the day Sittler, he'd be wearing his strange-looking helmet. Steve Shutt, like just Guy Lafleur, like these guys had character. So when Pat traded, he was trading for character, but he's also, I think, bringing like Robert Dirk, 6'5", bringing guys that were from Vancouver. They were born and raised in BC. And I think there's a pride there that you don't want to let your fellow BC people down. Like, there's a certain pride that, I don't know, that's kind of how I felt. And that energized a team that was okay with just losing. And that was kind of the feeling when we came here. That when we came, we gave hope. That word I say, hope. We gave hope. And then all of a sudden, Pat says, you know what? Let's go get this other guy that can run a power play. Jeff Brown, Hedican. Interesting. You know what? We got a chance here. We need a guy that wants to be a superstar. We want a guy that can change a game. We need a kid that will come out and say, I'm going to score 50 goals. Maybe not do it, but he believes he can do it. And I don't think anyone ever, the minute you saw Pavel Bure in his first shift, I was out on the ice, so I saw him pick the puck up. I've never seen anyone skate that fast in my life. And it was like, oh my God, it's like the kid is here. So all of a sudden, we're building a team that actually has a chance. Trevor was always a good, solid player, good leader, does all the little things, face-offs. But now finally we had a group of guys that there was some talent there, but also it was a lot of character. And the character even goes to guys like Gino Ojic. There's character there. I mean, you go to Martin Gellin, a character player. Like Tim Hunter, character player. I think like you could recognize those guys, and I think character players are important. And I think that's something the Canucks could use a character player, a couple. I don't like saying anything bad but I really, the Toffoli thing, as a Canuck fan, I was kind of scratching my head because here's a kid 6'2" that can stick handle in a phone booth and get to the net and score those ugly goals, the dirty goals, kind of like a Shane Doan. I just thought that was something at the time. Now he's got 23 goals. Sure, I can talk about it now, I'm sure. But even then, I just thought that's like the perfect right winger for if you're a tall, skinny centerman that has great vision and needs protection. But the Canucks are close. A couple good transactions down the road here with character players. Then you got a chance.
Okay. Let's shift gears here.
Okay.
Tonight's our first podcast. So let's celebrate with one of your passions in life. I know that you love cigars.
Oh, we got cigar? Okay.
So tell me about where this grew. Where did you start getting involved in smoking all these different types of cigars?
I have no idea. You know what? The odd time I have a cigar. Obviously, Big Pat Quinn, I don't want to say he was an influence on me, but he was a bit of a father figure for all of us. But yeah, I guess, when you're out golfing, once in a while you have a cigar. It makes the game fun.
Yeah.
Or when you're celebrating something. So, hopefully I didn't bore people out there and talk too much, but
we're going to be doing this every Sunday, buddy.
We got lots to talk about. So anyone out there has questions or wants, give us a story or whatever, they can email you.
Well, we've got questions from some of our loyal fan base from 10 years of coaching hockey. Jim from Prince George. Cliff, who was the easiest player to play with?
Okay, easiest player. I played with a lot of good players. Adam Oates was a great player, easy to play with. But for me, Alexander McGillney was a player, was a dream for someone like myself, because I always wanted to play with a guy that liked to crisscross and create space. And it gives you more of an opportunity when you have someone that is so skilled. And Pavel Bure was an amazing player, but he was a player that could do it all on his own. But McGillney was a guy, if he had someone work with him, he'd create 2-on-1s all over the place. And I would have to say definitely him.
Jerry from Coquitlam. Cliff, how do the Canucks finally win the Stanley Cup?
Well, it takes time. It takes good getting some character players brought in there with your young talent. But also, I think one thing I've noticed, I watch, I'll say it again, way too much hockey. I watch a lot of American Hockey League teams, and if you watch the American Hockey League teams, you can kind of get a feel for what the NHL teams like. And for instance, Syracuse Crunch is the Tampa Bay Lightning team, and they beat pretty handedly some teams in their division, and they're just a fast, smart team. And I think that's something the Canucks really have to focus on, is building the farm team, which will entice and push the other players that are looking down what's coming up. And that creates good competition. And that creates a winning spirit, a winning atmosphere, knowing that the farm team's strong. I mean, you look at Carolina's farm team is very strong. The year before, I think they were with another team that went together, but the year they were by themselves and Carolina had such a good year, the young kids were pushing the other players to keep their game at a high level to stay in the league. And that's just like anything, I guess, in business even, or in anything, in competition. if you're getting pushed from below, it forces you to be better or you're not there. And that's what the whole game's about.
Got it. Okay, we got a question here from Michelle in Kelowna, BC.
Kelowna, I love that place.
All right. Who was the hardest goalie to score on?
Well, for me, I would have to say, I know it sounds strange. The one guy I always scored on, which is strange, even when I was in midget hockey, was Patrick Waugh. I scored on him all the time. But the hardest guy for me was Ed Belfour. And I don't know, like mentally, he looked like it was a sheet of plywood. Like I couldn't beat him. It was all in my head. You know, maybe it went back to the time when I was a real young 19-year-old playing in the old Chicago stadium, and it's like loud. You can't even hear anything. I go down the wing. I'm getting out, you know, a couple shifts a game, and I'm just a young kid going down the wing playing against Al Secord, Dennis Savard, Ben Wilson, and all these guys that are monsters. And going down the wing, taking a slap shot, scoring between the goalie's legs, which was Ed Belfour, but the whistle went, and I didn't hear anything. And as I'm going behind the net, he cross-checks me in the head, and I go flying. And then he pretty well attacks me, I would say. And there was just something after that. It was like he always had something on me. And then when he was in Toronto, Chicago, it was kind of like, no matter what, I could not score on this guy. He was just like intimidating to the T for me. And, I mean, he was a great goalie, don't get me wrong, but his style, I just couldn't score on him.
Got it. Okay, so that's where I think we'll leave it for tonight. I want to thank Cliff for coming and starting this podcast with me. I think it's going to be a great journey. And for everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. We're the SlapShot Alley, slapshotalley.com. You can come here. We'll teach you how to shoot. We'll teach you how to work on your skills. We're a little small hockey shop in Richmond, BC. We've got synthetic ice. But more importantly, we've got 10 years of experience on teaching proper NHL pro technique. And I can almost guarantee you that I've got kids smiling within 5-10 minutes of learning how to shoot the puck. All right, a few thank yous to everyone that's helped out get the SlapShot Alley up and running. This place would still be under construction if it wasn't for Cliff's dad, John Ronning. Thanks, John. It was great having you around here for the whole month in January. We had a few family days here. Thanks to Cliff's brother for helping us out with the painting too. Thank you, Todd. You're a great bro. Thank you to Craig Moorhead from Northwest Rubber. Craig has installed some beautiful rubber around our synthetic ice. Craig, get your son back in here for some more shooting lessons. Thank you to our amazing graffiti artist, Jeremy, for painting some sweet hockey murals here. Jeremy, your style has really given our place some good vibes and color, and it makes the atmosphere so much more fun for everyone. If you'd like to see some more of Jeremy's amazing artwork, you can follow him at can_action on Instagram. Thank you to one of our hockey dads, Mr. Brad Cooper, for building us a custom skate sharpening bench and cabinet. You've been a great friend and supporter to us for years. It's been a pleasure working with you and your kids. Thanks to Bruce and Claire's family, who have a warehouse business across the street. They were able to help us move all of our stuff in here and bring us a brand new hockey net last week. Thanks to my mom and dad for helping us plant the flowers. And thanks to Spark Skate Sharpeners for supplying us with an awesome automatic skate sharpener. This thing really does a perfect sharpen every time. We've got 1/2 inch and 5/8 sharpening available. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to ask questions or join the show, contact us at slapshotalley.com.